Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello, friends and families. Welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you could hit pause real quick, head on over to iTunes and leave us a really nice and sweet, awesome review on iTunes. That would be amazing.
Thank you.
Head down into the show notes and you'll see all the links to connect with us, YouTube channel and everything. And at the end of this, we're trying to have a YouTube video for our 2-year-old morning basket up on our YouTube channel.
And we'll be following with our 5-year-old's morning basket.
Probably later this week as well. And so we're going to give you some videos on, we actually show, our pretty faces and all the boxes, the box and everything that's in it in more great detail. We'll talk a little bit about it today, but we'll actually show you what it is on the YouTube channel. So head on over there. I know it was a fun little recording that we had there. About 8 minutes, I think, for our 2-year-old. So it's a great little thing. You can kind of see what we do on a daily basis. Morning baskets. That's the title of this episode. So Ariel, what is a morning basket? What is this magical thing that we've heard from a number of people we've interviewed?
Yeah, we've talked to a lot of people that say that they really love doing a morning basket and we've got to do one. And I really had no idea. Is it just throwing in some of the books we're supposed to read into a basket and you do it in the morning?
And everybody, literally everyone we've interviewed has been doing morning baskets. And we were catching ourselves looking at each other going, do we need to have a morning basket?
Right. What's this morning basket deal?
Yeah.
Do we have to, does it have to be a basket or?
Yeah. And I just felt, I think I felt inspired that first day and I just went and grabbed, we had this old kind of toy chest, kind of like a treasure chest. And I used it as my box. It was super simple.
Right. So it was a morning treasure chest for a while. So I mean the background of morning baskets, it's derived from Charlotte Mason philosophy, and it's all about gathering together and having the whole family do something together. So whether that's poetry or art appreciation or something that everyone can gather together and do. So for us, this looks a little bit different in that we're almost homeschooling and only in this respect, in that our daughter is 5.5 and our younger is only 2. And so we've actually decided to create a separate morning basket for our younger. And
at first it was just the one.
Right. And we realized that she needed extra things to stimulate her because she's not ready to be folded in. So our morning basket is definitely going to adapt. But that's something that we hear time and again about. What is a morning basket? Well, a morning basket is a lot of different things, and it's always changing and moving. So it's something that its goal is to help bring everyone together at a time that's good for everyone in the morning to focus and to help simplify your homeschool day.
Some people use it as sort of a circle time. If we think about circle time, maybe reading a book together, and like what you said, all doing the same thing. Some people might use it as like a morning meeting, like a morning
Right. I've heard the
stand-up.
morning meeting, especially if you have a larger family, where it's a good time to sit down in the morning and talk about the things that are coming up for the day.
Yeah.
Or, make sure that the family's all connected about any struggles or concerns or things, and then do something that's all together, whether some families will, all do an art exercise together while listening to an audiobook or while doing some music appreciation, or they'll take turns reading poetry, or it's a great opportunity for the kids to do something. Maybe it's art, or maybe it's playing with something creative, or maybe it's playing with something that's dexterity based while mom or dad does a read aloud. So if you're doing a big chapter book, sometimes we think of reading to our kids as a before bedtime type thing. But sometimes, everyone's freshest in the morning. So maybe that's the time when you really, read the next chapter of your big family read aloud. So I think that
You got to get through the next chapter of War and Peace,
it can be used in a lot of different ways. I think that this is both the easy and hard part of homeschool.
Yeah.
Is because this morning baskets, like with anything, it is whatever you want to make it.
Yeah.
But also there could be guidelines, but it's homeschool. So you do what you want,
Yes.
Like I feel I want somebody to tell me this is what your morning basket must include, but
You
it's
want the
not
blue,
that
you
rigid.
want the blue apron morning approach too.
Right, exactly.
Just send me the food, give me the instructions, and I'll make it.
Yeah, I think there's always this balance between I kind of want everything my own way and I kind of want to be told what to do. That thus far, nothing has existed that satisfies both of those needs for me to be.
Well, I think the answer
happy.
is you do what's right for your family. So if you have some older learners that are willing to sit around and listen to you read the next chapter of whatever book while they do some artwork, or you're listening to an audiobook and that works for you, great. In our situation, and many people that are listening to this, maybe they have a younger learner like a 2-year-old, and we all know 2-year-olds are not going to sit and listen to the next read aloud. They
Right.
want to get into things, and it's going to evolve, and hopefully in a couple of years maybe we'll have more of a traditional sit down circle time,
Right,
more family oriented
I
thing.
think that the goal of it is great. And when our younger is just a little bit older, then we can do something all together. And I have before sat down and done picture books as part of morning time, but it's that worked pre-Terrible Twos. Now
Yes.
that we're solidly entrenched in the Terrible Twos,
Yes.
that's not something that we can do.
Yeah, we're
But
in the-
like everything with homeschooling, it changes and it adapts and it becomes what you need it to be. But that's the general gist of morning baskets or morning time or circle time or morning meeting, or call it your favorite thing.
So relaxed, fun, simple, something that works with your family is kind of like the structure. And then you go ahead and, a lot of times I always tell people, start with something, right? We always want
right.
it
You
to
have
be
that,
the
like,
thing.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you just need to take that first step and you need to fall down the stairs, and then you need to get back up. So just make a choice, whatever it might be, whatever's best for you, whatever you're trying to do. And we're going to walk through kind of how we use the morning basket, and maybe they'll give you some ideas on where you can start, and then you can, meander in your direction. Maybe you're a little bit more eclectic. Maybe you have something that really interests you, or something that's unique to your family that's really important, and that's something you need to take that and run with that. So let's talk a little bit about, when do we do the morning basket? Typically, we do it in the mornings right after breakfast, but we've heard of families doing it in the afternoon, maybe after dinner,
or maybe
an
it's
evening thing.
It's an all day basket,
Yeah.
right? Maybe it's something or basket, bin, crate, box, shelf. Don't think you have to have a basket.
Yeah.
A treasure chest like we had. So it could be something that you refer back to throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is the location where you put all the things that you want to do all together.
Yeah.
And maybe you do a little bit after breakfast and a little bit right after lunch, and use it how you see fit, but it's meant to bring everyone together and focus everyone on the same thing.
Absolutely. So when they're into these baskets, some families will use them and with a structure. They'll either do like a looping schedule where they'll loop back on the books. They'll cycle through things sometimes.
Right, and if you're not familiar with loop schedule, so there's kind of two ways you could think about it with that. So let's say you could say, well, every Monday we do geography, and Tuesday we do poetry, and Wednesday we do this, and you could do it that way. Or you could have a whole stack of things. Like I've got 10 things and I do one a day, and whatever day I finish the 10th thing, I start back on the first thing, and we keep going. So rather than locking yourself into a day, it's more of a sequence, and you're going to loop back on it. Just for those folks who aren't as familiar with loop schedules when you say that.
Yeah, the next thing, maybe a Monday, you may have like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. And you want to hit specific things because maybe they feed into something you're doing that day. Maybe you have a tutor later in the day with one of your students about piano, and you want to do music appreciation that morning about a piece they're learning, right? So it has to be on that Monday. Or, on a Friday, it might be gymnastics. And so we're going to be doing, stretching meditative activities together where we are all thinking about whatever, right? Some people may have a little bit more structure. I have started doing morning basket every day, including the weekends.
Right.
And
use it as often as you want to.
As often or as little as you want.
Well, it's interesting. We talk about this as being
and
something.
even sometimes when we do it, we actually vary the amount of time because we are busy. Like,
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's just like one thing and sometimes it's more. But this is interesting. So talk a little bit about why we use it. When this is meant to bring everyone together and do the same thing, well, we only have a single learner.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of doing a morning basket? I mean, we have two, but the younger one is not. Like I said, they're kind of separate in this way because she's not ready to focus yet on something. So why do it with a single learner? What advantage have we found for our family with doing it with our daughter?
For me, it's the focus, because a lot of times when we're getting in the routine, we understand that children like to, be active, have a lot of activity, not necessarily scheduled, but they like the consistency. And I found for us, maybe different for you, that the morning is a good productive time.
Right. They're very fresh.
They're very fresh. Both kids are very fresh at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They love to come downstairs. They're chatty. They're active. Their minds are going. They're talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking to me. And I get them served breakfast. I have found that moment right after breakfast is an incredibly effective time for me.
It's a captive audience thing too, right? They're already at the table.
It's right there. The morning basket's right there. And what's really great about it is that, while I'm serving them up breakfast and doing my little shimmy, shimmy shoulder shake, I'm dancing a little. While they're doing that work, it gives me a little bit of time to prepare so that the minute they're done, I'm like, hey, you did a great job on breakfast. You guys look really fresh. I'm already loaded up with activities because the box is right behind them where they're
Mm-hmm.
eating, and it gives me a little bit of time. And I found that morning time right after breakfast, I can get really good high quality focus. They're very energetic. They're interested. I rarely get any complaining. Oh, I don't want to do this, Dad, or I don't feel like it today. I never get that. And so I've really latched onto that time as my time to do the morning basket and do this kind of extended learning. We'll talk a little bit about what we do during that time. And it might differ from what you do, maybe differ a little bit from what you've seen online. But for me, I like to have my learner does not handle like 2-hour block of homeschool.
I'm not sure what 5.5-year-old would.
Well, yeah, it's true. I don't know if I could handle a couple-hour block of homeschool.
I wouldn't. By the time a meeting starts running towards an hour, I'm like, oh, come on.
Exactly. And so I have broken up my homeschool across typically 2 to 3 pieces of the day, and then it allows me time to, for her to either go to her. Right now, she's doing the summer preschool thing. In about a month and a half, we're going to be doing the parent partnership, the homeschool public school combo. So she'll be taking some enrichment classes, and then I'll be doing homeschool at home. I'll have a very structured schedule at that point. I find the homeschool time in the morning right after breakfast is a good time for me to get some learning in, get some excitement, and really use it as a motivational period to then leverage for the rest of the day, whether I'm then doing the around the world studies where I'm reading books, we're doing the country studies, we're doing some YouTube videos, and then in the afternoon when her sister has gone down to sleep, I have the focus time to do my math and reading work that I've got to do with her. I'm able to spread these things out, and I really like to leverage the morning basket as one of those great points of the day where I can actually do some additional learning, some additional excitement. So some people like to use it as kind of a fun, light activity, and we absolutely do that. We do art, we do music, we'll do, some dancing. Sometimes it's not working. We were doing obstacle course the other day. I had them dressed as turtles walking around the house.
We're studying the Galapagos.
Yeah,
Islands.
we're in the Galapagos, guys. So I had them with some tortoises.
Yeah, we have a lot of books in our morning basket, but sometimes if that's, sometimes we do something else, or a lot of times you'll do the morning basket book pieces and then you'll do something that's more active right after. Either it's a outside, or if the weather's not good, then doing something inside.
Cosmic yoga, or some type of active, I don't know, obstacle course stuff that we've been doing lately that's been really fun. Doing some type of, run and play, hide and seek, things of that nature. we can get active, and then we will settle back down and do a little bit of work, whether it's reading books and playing and doing games and activities and stuff like that. But the morning has been really a very effective time period. So that's why I have slotted it in right where we have it.
Well, and I like that it's a time, they are fresh, but maybe they're not, they also don't have their wiggles out yet.
No.
So it's not a time where we haven't found for ourselves, it's not a time where we can start into a big block of work. It's 7:30 in the morning. It's not the time that we could say, okay, let's sit down and do math and reading and do our kind of major focus homeschool time, because they haven't kind of gotten that energy out yet.
Especially the 2-year-old who, the minute she wakes up, she's at 110%.
She is.
And at 7:30, she's at 115%. And she is ready to go.
But there's a nice time there right after they've eaten, where they're still at the table and they're willing to give you 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great stuff that we can do. So let's talk about some of the things that you would want to do for your morning basket during that time. What are ideas of types of things?
So for other people, you may do something that's book-based, where you want to do some reading, whether it's an early reader book or maybe some chapter book, or it's some type of enrichment book that maybe they're interested in. You could also do read aloud, so you can play some audio stories, audio books, things of that nature, art, music, kind of do those fun little curriculum items that maybe you wouldn't get to with your normal curriculum. You can kind of leverage them in this time period. Obviously, audio books. If you are a multilingual family, or you have grandparents that are, they speak Spanish, it might be a great time to do some Spanish work.
Or you're just, you're just trying to, get some active learning in with your child with another language. It's a good time to be practicing that when they're nice and fresh.
Yeah, maybe you don't have time to do it in the other part of the day. That might be a great time to do that. And it can kind of come together and, have a fun environment around breakfast. And okay, at breakfast we speak Spanish, right? And we do those sort of things, right?
Yeah, I think that's great.
You could do mindfulness. You can even do some, yoga, physical nature, if that's something that your family is really into. Even maybe in the morning constitutional, your morning basket may be walking, talking, doing flashcards.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing saying this has to be indoors. Maybe your morning meeting happens outside. Yeah. I love the morning basket for the things that slip through the cracks, right? Yeah. Like you put mindfulness in there.
Work, brain teasers,
logic and puzzles and other things.
And we're actually doing something similar to that. We're finding subjects that we want to use, and we can get into that. But you can leverage things that maybe you're just like, oh, I wish I could spend a little bit of time to teach them shoelace tying, and I just don't feel like I have that time.
Right. It can be something small. We realized that over the years, we had picked up all kinds of different books and things of different subjects that we wanted her to learn, but none of them is our main focus, right? We're focusing on our reading and
the around the world
study and math and these other various things, are just not bubbling up to the surface. But that's what's lovely about the morning basket. You put it in the rotation and eventually it comes to the surface and you do it. It's like, this is great.
If you design your basket in a nice, effective way, so like, front to back, right? So that whatever's in the front, you just take it and peel it and put it into the back, so it's going to rotate back,
or keep cycling.
Or maybe you have a little bit more, deliberate methodology where you're like, oh, I'm going to do these 2 books, but you can have the basket literally tell you what it's going to do that day.
Right. It's what I kind of love too is you can there's a laziness element here that I love because we as homeschool parents don't get to be lazy very often. I know some people think like we have it easy because you can school in your pajamas, but it's so much more difficult because everything is on our shoulders, right? We were having lots of conversations today about our daughter and her reading, and you were just expressing how much pressure you feel is on your shoulders. And, we don't have enough time to plan, and we want to make sure that everything we do is helpful for them and, advances them further. And, we want to be good teachers. And there's so much pressure. I love the idea of saying, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff in this basket and I'm going to do that stuff. Yeah. And I'm not going to have to do elaborate planning or all these activities. There's just something nice about taking one and going, let's be simple and easy with this one.
So let's get into kind of what our morning basket looks like. Yeah. So I tend to, like with most things, I like to see it from a holistic point of view and come into it in a very thoughtful manner. So the first thing that I like to do is anything that's a catch-up materials. So these are things that I've been doing during the week through Homeschool. This could be a part of our Around the World study. It could be math and reading based. something that I feel like, oh, it's Thursday or Friday and I need to get this stuff done by the end of the week because we're going on to another country next week and I need to get some videos out, or I need to get some, I need to read about this country, or I need to read this last book from the library. I'll just toss it into the morning basket and have that be the morning thing that I do. So you can actually use the morning basket to gobble up little things. Or like, for example, oh, we're going over to Grandma and Grandpa's house tomorrow and I'm going to miss my, the last 2 books in my around the world study. Well, great. I can do that in my morning basket before we leave, right? Because they got to eat breakfast.
And it's nice
because
the basket is sitting there and open.
You can just toss stuff into it.
And it's not up in the homeschool room. It's right near the dining room table. So you're able to just, throw things in. The other day she'd done flashcards in the afternoon with you for reading. And you thought that she was maybe struggling a little bit with them. And you're like, I'm going to get these when we're fresh. And you just tossed them in the front of the morning basket. Yeah. So the next morning, there they were.
That was the first thing I grabbed. So
that was really nice.
So and then the next thing is you can do a morning warm-up. So like kind of brain stimulation stuff. So if you're doing kind of logic stuff, so we have a logic book. We've been using some
Kumon logic
Kumon logic books, and we'll make sure to post our the 6-year-old morning basket video to our YouTube channel this week.
You can see everything that we do. So we had a couple of different logic books that we've used, and find what might be engaging to your learner, but something that activates their brain. Or we used to have Kumon books on that she already worked through on mazes, and puzzles. There was one too on dexterity that was all about cutting and pasting.
Yeah, like you have to cut the pieces and paste them in like a puzzle format. So it was, again, kind of art with a little bit of logic and a little bit of puzzle solving.
Nice to get her brain going.
Yeah, you could also even just, if you have a learner that loves doing puzzles, you could just toss in a puzzle in the morning.
Right. Yeah. Every morning they're going to do a quick 50-piece puzzle or something just to get them started. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's if you did a puzzle, that's a great time for you to do a chapter read aloud or an audiobook or music appreciation while they're engaged in something like that.
I can't, my 6-year-old loves doing puzzles, but I have the 2-year-old right there. So puzzles are out.
Yeah, not for right now.
Yeah, a lot of games are out right now, but they're coming back and I'm really excited about it.
It could be a morning game.
Oh,
this could be your
great time to play game.
You could put card games or dice games or things in your morning basket that you cycle through, and it could be a time when you get, I love the idea of waking up everyone's brain, because I feel like if you just sat them down and tried to start working right away, they'd still be like, they're not ready. This is a fun way to get them warmed up. On the puzzle thing too, you can use things like we use like Brain Quest or, similar type things you could use like Professor Noggin's, quizzing cards, play any of those type games.
I think I pulled the other day, I pulled down the hangman game. We have a nice hangman game with
Melissa and Doug.
And Doug one with the flipping tiles. We played that in the morning basket, and the 2-year-old was able to play and guess letters, and it was really
everything
fun.
was A.
Everything was A. That's the
A, sister A.
We already guessed that one. No, A. Next thing we do very deliberately is skills development, and the thing that we're focusing heavily on with skills is handwriting. So it's a really good time for me to get a couple pages of handwriting. And, maybe to take a step back, when I'm talking about these workbooks and these Kumon books and the handwriting books, the amount of pages we're doing in these books is 2-3 pages. We're talking 3 or 4 or 5 minutes at the most.
Yeah, they're very short.
It's not a lot. And I really try to keep it tight and, pick multiple items. So when I pull the stuff out of the morning basket, for me, I tend to have about 3 to 4 items for them to do, whether it's some catch-up material, it's then like some logic stuff or a puzzle or a game, and then I do something with the skills development. And the Danielian handwriting is our big thing right now. And so I'm having her work through the Danielian book. And, if you think about it, a lot of these workbooks have, 60, 70, 80 pages. So if you're doing it every day, maybe all the weekdays and maybe not the weekends, but we're starting to do the weekends as well.
The kids really like it. She asks to do the work.
She doesn't complain, and so if she's not going to complain, I'm going to keep going with it.
Well, and sometimes she says like, well, where's my morning stuff? This is what we do.
And we'll talk a little bit about the benefits that you get out of it too. Something for myself, but we'll talk about it at the end. But doing these type of things, she likes it. It's enjoyable. I'm not going to stop. And it's really, really helpful. So I'm able to get a little bit of skills development because I probably wouldn't have otherwise get that time where I get her back to the table to sit down and do handwriting. She's already there. It's a great time for me to get that
it's
done.
A good time too, even if she's not done with breakfast yet.
Yeah.
You set the couple of books there with her, my first number 2 Ticonderoga pencils, which are the best.
Oh, yes.
So you can set those workbooks down next to her, and even before she's done with breakfast, sometimes she'll start working. You don't have to time it, like wait for the baby to finish
Yeah.
breakfast too. She can go ahead and get started working on her few things, and she really likes it. Sometimes I have to like pry workbooks away from her
Yes.
because she's like just wants to keep going, especially
Yeah.
with the logic ones. She really gets into those and puzzles.
Yeah, and I really try to cap the time to about anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes, and I don't let it go past that.
Depending on the 2-year-old.
Yeah, depending on the 2-year-old, it's very, very 2-year-old dependent. Next thing we talked about is I bring in some read alouds. So I'm actually reading some books. I'll pull, we have these first year, the first level 1, level 2 early reader books. I'll toss a few of those in there as well. And we also have some kind of storybooks, alpha tales, things of that nature, where I'll read a story or two here and there. I found that to be...
And we have coloring books in the morning
so
basket for when you're reading those stories.
Yeah, so like artwork and stuff, I will also have a bunch of coloring books. On top of all that, right in the front, I have a whole little container full of pencils, crayons, colored pencils, just right there.
That live there.
Because
they seem to walk away from other areas of the house.
But it's really nice to be able to just pull them out, because they're, a lot of the activity books that we're doing, they'll ask them to say, okay, color in these, items in yellow. And I'm like, well, now I got to go dig for a crayon. It's great to have crayons right there ready for you. And then obviously the coloring as well, especially if you want to do some art with like a read aloud. We have coloring books in ours. So while I'm reading, I'll give her a coloring book and I'll have her do that. So those are the type of things we do with that. Additional subjects that are not covered by curriculum is another thing we do. So for example, I have a book right now about geography, teaching her about cardinal directions and being able to, give directions and find where you are on a map and things of that nature. We have a really nice workbook about that. When else would I have the opportunity to do that? I would not intentionally do that, or I would not intentionally bump important curriculum materials like my Around the World stuff, where I have a bunch of spines and a bunch of readers and a lot of research that we're doing and going on YouTube. I wouldn't bump any of that to do a geography workbook, but this is a great time to do that. We just finished a logic book from Kumon, where we moved in a new Kumon book of telling time. I want her to be able to tell time in an effective manner and, know when things are happening when. And I don't know when I would do that otherwise.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It would be kind of haphazard and a lot of ad hociness to it. And I don't think I would get good learning there. So again, I bring that book into the morning basket. I give it to her, 1 or 2 pages. We'll go all the way to the end, and hopefully by the end she'll be able to, tell time in a decent way.
Yeah, we have a really nice Melissa and Doug wooden clock too to help her, with telling time, and so having this workbook really reinforces the learning with that too.
So that's how we're using the morning basket. And obviously, that might differ from what other people are doing and whatnot. But basically, the catch-up materials. Just to summarize, the catch-up materials. You can do a little bit of a morning warm-up. That's what we're doing. We do some skills development. I do some read alouds. And then I do some additional subjects that maybe are not on our normal curriculum path. Those are the things I kind of focus on. And then I can, pick and choose. Most days I'm picking about 2 core items. So like, for example, the telling time or my sight words book, which we'll talk a little bit about what we're into this week. Doing some sight words, doing my geography book, and then maybe some coloring or some art activity or an early reader, right? So those are 3 items right there that I'll pick. I'll have the pencil pulled out. I'll pull the crayons out if I know the crayons are, especially while they're eating breakfast. I'm able to flip through and see what pages they got to do so I can get all my materials all together. While they're eating, they're doing happy cereal stuff. And then I'm able to understand exactly what's coming. So if I do have to do, some instruction, I'm prepared, I'm ready, and easy to go. What's great about it is that in the last we've been doing this for almost 3 months now, 2.5, 3 months now. In the last month, I have been able to put together a morning basket for a 2-year-old.
Which has been really helpful.
This is nowhere near like our normal 6-year-old morning basket. These are toys, flashcards, toy animals, blocks, things of that nature that are very engaging.
Simple 2-piece puzzles and things.
And so what we're able to do is while my 6-year-old is doing her morning basket work, which tends to be a lot of workbook heavy stuff.
Yeah, because she tends to like that.
I'm able to move over to my 2-year-old, do some, rudimentary building or identification of animals or playing with some flashcards and doing some number counting. And then I can slide back over if my 6-year-old needs a little bit of help. So I'm able to go back and forth. And really what my 2-year-old morning basket is, it's a distraction to get my 2-year-old interested into something so that she's not climbing over the table and like wanting to put her hands on sister's books. I can engage with her and give sister a little bit of time to be able to do that morning work that she needs. She wants to do.
And you're starting to build that muscle with the 2-year-old of playing independently with some of the morning basket items, so that you do have time to look ahead and see what's happening for your homeschool day, and get prepared for the rest of your day that's coming. So, building that kind of rigor of, here's the basket, and you're really quick to be paying enough attention, even if you're not having to work directly with the 2-year-old, that you see when the interest is waning and you change it up and you grab another item. Yeah. It's nice to have them right there. It's almost like busy boxes. We've talked a little bit about doing that before for our 2-year-old. But this is more intentional, and there's more learning focused materials, in this basket. So the goal would be that once she's a little bit older, the baskets will combine into one thing. Maybe the girls will have separate workbooks, but we'll be able to do read alouds together. Exactly. You still are able to do music appreciation and other things together right now, but it's hard. You got to keep the focus of a chaotic 2-year-old. So.
Yes, managing the 2-year-old has been a thing, but it's been really cool because she knows she has her own morning box now. Because she actually sees it. I pull the stuff out. I say, these are your toys. These are your activities. And Daddy gets to sit there. And it's also really cool because it gives me a really focused moment, because the 6-year-old is occupied. And it allows me to do some focused, educational talking, one-on-one time that is not, playing with little people or chasing her. Don't climb on the walls. No, please don't destroy that. The lamp is not a weapon. Please stop. Those type of things. And I can actually do some fun educational stuff, building blocks, building forests, playing with animals, and doing cards, and doing simple, as you said, 2-piece puzzles, things like that I normally wouldn't otherwise get, because then she's so distracted by her sister, right? So she always wants to be with her sister. And I can't pull her away very easily and say, no, let's play some blocks. I don't want to play blocks. That 6-year-old is way more interesting than you.
Right, she's doing lots of cool stuff.
This gives me that time where I can get a little bit of focus time, and it's very enjoyable, and I really do like it.
So you're at this point in our morning basket life, we're kind of together but separate, with the goal that we'll be able to, complete and bring together as our younger gets older. But we know that a lot of you have little kids, and hopefully this gives you an idea of what you can do with the younger one to keep them occupied.
And start small, start easy, start simple. And
we just have a little, a mini crate that we got from, I don't know, Walmart or something for a couple of bucks. It's nothing special, and another slightly bigger crate for our older daughter. So It doesn't have to be fancy. I always see those videos of morning baskets, and they have these, I don't know if they get these from Pottery Barn or
of course they do.
Williams-Sonoma. They're these beautiful baskets, and everything's in kind of white, soft tones. This is your morning basket. And there's candles
Martha
and
Stewart
stuff.
haze over
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. And, ours
what
is a plastic.
Instagram filter is that on?
Ours is a plastic crate. I think it can be anything. And I get so intimidated sometimes when I see that stuff, because I feel like we must be doing it wrong if it doesn't look like that. No. And I know that that's just mom, Pinterest, YouTube envy type thing. But I think when we're talking about subjects like this, it can be helpful to just be real and say it can look like what it could look. It could be a box.
It could just be a box
or a shelf. You could have a shelf that has all your morning materials on it. I think it'd be great too when our daughter gets a little older. I'd love to when both our daughters come together. I'd love to solicit them and find out what they would love to do in the morning. So that's something that if you're not sure exactly what your kids would enjoy most in the morning, maybe, talk with them about it and try a few things and find your groove, find out if, doing something first thing in the morning, before the craziness of the day starts out, if that could be effective for you. I think it could even be something effective for people who, have, part of their family maybe goes to public school. Breakfast is a time when everyone's there together. Even if that time might be brief. But, you're all there before you go your separate directions. And I know that we are going to lean into the morning basket this fall because our 2-year-old is going to go to preschool a couple of days a week, and our older daughter is going to go to parent partnership a couple of days a week. And so we're going to have a much busier schedule than we are used to.
Yeah.
And this will be time when they are together and it's still quiet before we have to be anywhere that we could, focus on and do things as a group.
Well, it's also a great opportunity to leverage, as you said, that they're together. So, part of our morning basket we forgot to mention was Bob books. We have some Bob books in there, asking the older one to read to the younger one.
Oh, that's been really fun.
Great thing. Also, have the older one instruct the younger one, and even just play role shifting. We've talked about this in the past. Have the 2-year-old or the 3-year-old teach the 6-year-old something, right? Do the role shifting because you're all right there, and it's great. And the morning light is beautiful, and
don't you're talking like Martha Stewart Glow here.
The children have just enjoyed their organic wheatgrass smoothies that I made. Yeah, they're having a good time.
See Raisin Bran.
Yes. So let's get, we always like to end this how, what we're into for the week. And so for us, it's the Sight Words book. We kind of alluded to it in the podcast. We have been into the Scholastic Sight Words book. So I'll tell you a little bit, we're all about reading, working hard, some struggles here and there. And I have seen some issues with her reading comprehension, some issues with her literacy. I've been pulling in literacy strips. I've been, focusing on increasing her reading speed, confidence, and all those type of things. I've been seeing a little bit of an issue. And I was walking through Walmart the other day with the 2-year-old, and I saw they have all the back to school stuff there. And so I was flipping through the books. I'm always addicted to these Scholastic books. I've been buying them for years. And I saw the Sight Words book, and I said, you know what? I wonder if I could balance a little bit of like sight words in the morning with, the phonics, heavy phonics in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And since they're so far apart in the day, I won't get any kind of bleed over or confusion. So she's learning a little bit of sight words in the morning and doing her phonics, heavy phonics in the afternoon. So it's like 80% phonics, 90% phonics, and like 10% sight words. So I was flipping through the book, and it was like, they said right on the front page, 100 words account for 50% of all the words that a kid would see in most early reader books. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And I'm looking through the words. I'm like, wow, she already knows like a quarter of these from the All About Reading. So I said, wow, this might be a good way to put this into the morning basket. Again, it's like a workbook. It's about 150, 200 pages. Do 2 or 3 pages a day. I have really noticed the reading speed. It's still a little choppy here and there when she's got to sound out words, and we're working through that now. But seeing her improve a little bit of speed because she's able to sight word, simple words that repeat a lot, like, on, the.
I was reading with her tonight, and she got all of the R's. R throughout every book.
A-R-E, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the sight words we learned this week.
And one of the things that's really cool about this book, too, is they have some activities. Like one of them is I don't know what you call
it. What
that.
is it called? Okay, it's the foldable thing where it has the 4 flaps, and they pick one, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it kind of like opens and closes like a mouth. Yeah. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right?
Right. We're both making the motion, right?
Motion
open and close it like a mouth.
Yeah.
It used to be. I remember it being a thing that we did in like late elementary school, and it was like who liked who, or who was going to get asked out. I mean, it was a girl thing. I remember. So anyway, these are sight words.
In the book, so you pick a sight word, you pick a number 1 to 5 or whatever, and then you find the sight word inside, you open the flap, and you read the sentence that's there. Man, she loves them because she just loves playing with them. And then
and she's always running around asking you to give her a number she can, do it. So she's working on counting and sight words at the same time. But it's nice.
It's actually a very nice book. We'll link the book in the show notes if you want to see it.
One.
I found it at Walmart. It was like $7.
Yeah, these workbooks are not very expensive,
and it has all these nice little printout kind of flashcards, but they're just paper flashcards, so they're not very durable. But, we hit those every morning, 10, 15 seconds to run through them. It has really helped. I've been impressed.
It's really helping her to increase her reading speed. One of the things I like about doing this is that it's, when she is definitely reading is a challenge for her. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes we say, okay, it's time to sit down to read. She kind of mentally gears herself for that. You can see it happen. Like, okay, this is going to be challenging. But because this is at a different time of day in a different book, you're hitting it from a totally different angle. She's not thinking, well, we're doing reading practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that's what it is. But for her, she's like, well, it's my sight words book. Like it's a totally separate activity in her mind.
Because I purposely did that. It's like it has none of the same characteristics as our All About Reading, which is
right. It's different.
It's very different.
As much as I like that program, and I think we've already bought the next level, we're very committed to continuing that program because it gives such a good foundation. It's nice to kind of hit things from a different direction too, and help her to increase the speed at which she can read. Because there's going to be a point where she's going to be able to read simple books well enough that she'll start getting real enjoyment out of them. And then I think she's just going to take off.
Yeah.
Once she's at there, she wants to be there really badly.
Yes.
She's just not quite there yet. And this is helping us get there.
It is. And it's just another wrinkle. And we're using the morning basket time to do that. And so we recommend the Sight Words book from Scholastic. It was pretty cheap. It's at Walmart. We'll put it in the show notes.
Ages 5 to 7.
5 to 7. So if you're right in that range, it's a great book. We've been going through it a pretty good clip, about 3 or 4 pages a day. And, I hopefully will be done by the time, the holidays roll around. And hopefully her reading speed, she'll have 100 words under her belt and her reading speed will just grow leaps and bounds. So anyway, that's what we're into this week. Hopefully it helps you guys, and maybe you guys can take a lot of the feedback from, our morning baskets, and you guys can put this into action.
Yeah, and tell
in
us
your
what
own
you
house.
do with your morning basket. I'd love to see your setup and the things that you decide to include.
We should have a mega thread on the Facebook group on everybody post their morning baskets.
Yes,
pictures.
yes, we'll have to do that.
All right, we'll make sure to do that. Go check out the Facebook group. If you're not a member, go ahead and sign up, and we'll go ahead and put that thread in there. And we'll also link both of the videos this week on the Facebook group as well on the YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that, and thanks for joining.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!